Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Beggars Canyon Boys. This is episode 16 of the galaxy's greatest podcast in the world.
Very nice. The greatest. Okay. Let's not break that down at all.
So today, as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Ryan, and it's me, Jackson, and we're talking Star Wars today.
Hey, yeah.
We're still in the first half of the 90s. We're getting close to that midway point of the 90s. 94, 95 territory here.
Vibe check, by the way. How are we feeling about it right now?
I think, it's a great time for Star Wars. I think that these, comics are a little bit of a miss, but I do really like the Dark Forces game. I guess in general, we're talking about Dark Empire 2 and Dark Forces, the video game. But overview of Star Wars feelings, I love it. I love the vibe right now.
Sorry to throw off the flow of the intro.
I don't care at all.
I wanted to check in on the temperature because I was thinking about this too. I was like, I am enjoying it, but I feel like I'm kind of like treading water a little bit. But, I like to swim, so that's fine.
That's a good way to put it. I definitely feel that as well, and I think you really feel it in some ways in both of the things that we talk about today, even though I think Dark Forces is a big step for Star Wars. Let's see. What do you want to talk about first? Any more like overview, general thoughts? I guess it's been a while since we recorded one. Any just like Star Wars life updates that you want to share?
No, nothing real prominent is sticking out.
I can think of something.
Oh, really?
Saw your sexy stormtrooper yesterday.
That's right. I did see because I guess the Emperor Strips Back show's coming to Los Angeles at some point. Yeah. So I guess I was near the theater in Hollywood that they're doing that.
Cool.
I ran across the street to take that picture as soon as I saw it. I was trying to catch a bus, but I was like, oh, I gotta get a photo of it.
That's awesome.
I didn't send you it, but I've got one of the sexy Darth Vader too with me.
Whoa.
Yeah, a little 2-for-1.
Based on your little motion you did, is that implying that she's kind of like holding the cape open to like show off some cleavage?
She is. Yes,
very nice.
Exactly. The listeners will really appreciate the way you described that for them because they missed that crucial little detail of what happened here.
Hey, I just interpreted your little motion when you were telling me about it. I would love to go see the Emperor Strips Back. The Empire Strips Back. I don't know if I'd want to say that.
For a little Freudian slip there.
Whoa, man, I'm just revealing my true desires here.
I would be worried that there's maybe prequel spoilers in it.
I know, that would be I know it's very like original trilogy based, but I would be surprised if there wasn't any kind of like joking reference to something.
Yeah, because it's parody. So.
Yeah.
So I don't know when that's coming. Maybe we'll get there before. Well, it's still in its run or not. But
well, we'll see. We'll have to buckle down on our progress through this. I guess I revisited Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland since last time we talked. Black Spire Outpost at Batuu, a place that I have very mixed feelings about. On the whole, I love it. I think it's a wonderful little immersive space into Star Wars world. The attention to detail, beautiful. Every time I go, a lot of my cynicism for modern Star Wars can get like washed away for a second. And then it comes flooding all right back when I start taking a closer look at like the merchandise and also the content of the rides and like which characters are walking around and all that kind of stuff.
I was going to ask you, they have like a bunch of in-character Star Wars universe people walking around?
They do,
that,
yes.
You can interact with and stuff?
I saw Chewbacca.
Oh, very nice. Did he go, oh?
Yeah, I said hey to him. I wanted to give him a hug, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That was coming out of my mouth without me really thinking about it. And then I was like, well, it's true, though.
A lot of truth today.
We're off to a good start here.
Yeah.
He was kind of like on his way, and the person like with him was like, "Oh, he's gotta like go over here, so
Yeah.
no
You mean
time."
Han Solo?
No, it was just some random
No.
resistance person.
Oh man, just a handler.
Yeah, yeah. But I will say the costume looked really good.
I bet. Yeah.
It was not. It was not your holiday special matted fur quality Chewbacca.
Now, do you still see like? I mean, I feel weird calling them this, but like legacy Star Wars characters there, like those guys, like Luke and Leia and all, or
No,
sort of phased out.
so the annoying thing about it is that they wanted it to take place in a specific time in continuity, which is I'm sure some people know this. I mean, there's even like a short story or a novel based on like the world that they made up for the Disney area. Um, it takes place at some time during the sequel movies.
Okay.
And so the setting of it is the sequel movies, and the characters that show up are from the sequels.
Okay.
And I mean, you already know Chewbacca is in those. So like in that regard, they can have Chewbacca show up because he still looks the same as he did in the old movies.
Yeah.
But like they're not having like old man Han Solo come out. But they do have like the new characters.
Okay. Yeah,
which is probably the worst part about it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because it feels like fucking fan fiction while you're there. You're like, oh man, it's awesome. And then you see the way that the stormtrooper armor looks from the new movies. And you're like, God damn it.
That would bother me. I could see that. Yeah. That'd be frustrating.
The most frustrating thing is no spoilers for like the big ride, because truly it's incredible, and if you've never like experienced it, you should just go in blind. But all I will say about it is it would be so easy to just pluck out all the sequel characters and replace them with original trilogy characters, and the ride could be like 90% the same.
Oh man.
And it feels like they almost maybe did that on purpose, because they're like, okay, well, we had to do the new characters when we made this ride, but maybe like 10 years from now, when nobody cares about these characters anymore, we'll just go back and put that's my evidence-free theory about the ride.
Theory, yeah.
Anyway, I know I texted you the picture of it, but we saw the freaking holiday special sweater, 2024 Life Day sweater.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I thought that was a knockoff merch when you sent it, because I remember us talking about, or you mentioning how Disney basically tried to hide all mention of the holiday special. But I guess for the novelty of it, they were like, whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. And I mean, hopefully they're smart enough to realize that like fans have a pretty strong like ironic love for the holiday special, and amongst like hardcore fans, like Life Day and the red robes and the orb and the celestial plane of Wookiees is a well liked and joked about thing, I think.
I can't believe how early we watched that, man.
That was like the
right
third
after.
episode.
Yeah.
But that's what happened in history.
Just so funny. That's crazy.
Yeah, I also thought that they were trying more to like hush that stuff, but I guess not. And I guess really the main reason why they probably haven't just released a remastered version of it on Disney Plus is because of the music and stuff. I assume, I mean, I'm just guessing, but I'm assuming that's why there's an issue with re-releasing it, is because there's like 4 licensed songs probably from, different people have all the rights to those songs now and all that.
I also do maintain that like, yeah, it is funny and like fun to watch ish, but also it's unbearable to watch.
No doubt about it. But it would be nice to have an easily accessible, especially with like the Internet Archive being smacked down right now by the government and stuff. Like pretty soon there's gonna be no nice way to watch it unless they do put up something like that on Disney Plus. And it, I agree with you, it's terrible. It's not like worth watching for like a fun Christmas special, but as a piece of Star Wars history, it is very interesting.
Well, I think we looked up before, you can get the bootleg VHS of it for like $70 on eBay or something. So that's the alternative.
Hey, Christmas is coming up.
Yeah, okay, all right. I was gonna get you some fur though from the
The Wampa?
Yeah, it's a Wampa.
Well, hey, no spoilers. No spoilers for Christmas,
Okay.
but I may have picked you up a little Star Wars present.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But we'll table that for now.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we dive into today's material?
We shall, yeah.
All right. What would you like to talk about first?
Let's do the game first. Only on the condition though that I can get Jan Ors as my mission control.
As your mission control?
Yeah.
For the recording?
Yeah.
Are you saying like you want me to like role play as her?
Yeah.
You guys couldn't see his face and his gestures he was making at me, but it was putting me in an uncomfortable position where I couldn't tell if like how much of it was a joke or what he wanted me to do.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding because the main he's a cool guy who says cool things like that. I just remember him saying, like when he's taking on the mission, he's like, looks interesting. Only if I can have Jan Ors as my mission control.
Yes. You're right. I'm sorry. Man, I need to like roll with the fucking punches more. I just like don't. I guess my brain works in this way where like if I'm aware that I'm in a improv scene, then I can like yes and well. But if I get caught off guard easily, is the thing. But
no, it's also my style of like humor is I'll just switch. There'll be no indication that I've completely switched, so I apologize.
I feel like I do the same thing. Yeah. I'm just bad at receiving it. So, but it's not like I mind though. It is very funny to me. It's just like in the moment, it takes me like a half second, and then like as I'm responding, I'm like, well, obviously he's just like doing a little joke or something. But I just took him seriously for a second.
Well, no, that really cracks me up too. So all good.
All right. Well, we can talk about the game first. So, we have two topics today. A PC game, Star Wars Dark Forces. This came out in 1999. 1995.
Yeah.
And
watch out, Y2K is coming. No, Jackson.
1999 is Phantom Menace year. That's a much different year for Star Wars.
Wow.
And we're on the way there.
That's Phantom Menace is the first of the prequels, though, right?
Yes.
Wow, it came out in 1999?
Yes.
So does the last of the prequels come out in, like, 2001?
2005.
Oh, my goodness.
They come out every 3 years.
I don't know why I thought they were, like, mid-90s movies, but...
No, they're 2000s movies. Like, yeah, I saw Revenge of the Sith in the theater when I was in second grade.
Okay, that's kind of nuts, actually.
That was the first one I saw in theaters because I was 3 when Attack of the Clones came out and 1. But yeah, we were alive for all of them.
That's really thrown off my Star Wars timeline, but
hey,
talk about that another time, I guess.
Yeah. And then the comic book Dark Empire 2. This was also 95. I mean, the first issue came out in December 94, and then it goes into 95.
Okay.
So yeah, we are in 95 really. But this is a first person shooter. Star Wars Dark Forces, and I just want to shout out real quick.
And this is also by LucasArts, right? Again, they're like sort of game production company that made the X-Wing game and everything.
Yes, and this one is like fully LucasArts, developed and published fully in-house. A lot of the other ones we've had are like co-developed by LucasArts in another game studio or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Or like published by LucasArts but developed by someone else. Okay. Darren Stinnett, the project leader. That's who I wanted to shout out.
Nice.
Little background about this game. This guy, Darren Stinnett, he really loved the Wolfenstein 3D game and wanted to do that, but with Star Wars. And I mean, we can see this is, an early days first-person shooter. I'm not saying that it's like a clone of Wolfenstein, but this is like, his own words that's what it is inspired by, and you can obviously see the similarities to it and Doom and other early like 2D. Well, I don't even know what you call them. Like they are 3D spaces and they have 3D polygons in them, but also 2D sprites existing in a 3D world. Anyway, yeah, this is a cool collaboration between a lot of like young new people at LucasArts that were just getting hired and or had maybe done a little bit of art or a little bit of design for earlier games, but they really got carte blanche. Is that the phrase for this game?
Go nuts with it.
Yeah, it was truly like do whatever you want. And initially they were like, well, let's make a game that takes place in between the first two movies with Luke Skywalker and him doing like missions for the rebels and what happened between the movies. And Lucasfilm or LucasArts or whatever didn't want them to use Luke because Luke was the main character of a ton of books and comics that were coming out at the time, and they were trying to make new characters, make new original stories. So they said like, yeah, you can set the game there, but make up a new main character. So thus we get a new character into the Star Wars universe, Kyle Katarn. Yeah.
He's cool.
He's cool.
Yeah.
Right now, he's not much else besides just cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's stereotypical cool.
Yes.
But that's
like,
cool, man.
90s comics cool. He's got the big shoulder pads. He's got like armor with a leather jacket over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
the attitude is cool.
Yes. Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck. He's an ex-Imperial officer turned mercenary turned rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a badass. He's just like a little one-man army that goes in and kills tons of stormtroopers and yeah.
And I like how it's like they also kind of signal everyone's got a hard time getting a read on him because Mon Mothma even is like, that is, if you still are on our side.
Right,
like,
right.
Just I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very simple. There's not much story to this game at all, but the little nuggets you get, it's good, like cheesy, fun Star Wars stuff. Like
it's camp for sure.
Yeah, but like it's so charming because you get those like old style sprite cutscenes and the little like bit crushed audio with like people talking and everything. It's like really cool to see like Darth Vader and an Imperial officer represented in this way, or like, you know, Boba Fett like stepping out of the shadows all in his like pixel art version of him.
That's when I booed though.
He looks cool when he steps out of the shadows. He's not well utilized in this game.
I mean, as you said earlier though, that's going to be a theme, like the underutilization of Boba Fett and the embarrassment of Boba Fett. By the way, just like,
dude, this is the most embarrassing we've seen yet. I mean, I know we already talked about it in the last Dark Empire episode, but he's worse in the second one.
I know, rough. Anyway,
so yeah, the story of this game, like we said, pretty simple, but it's just like the Empire is developing these things called Dark Troopers, which is like a special new droid. And we also talked about this, a theme that's been coming up a lot recently in the Tales of the Jedi, in the comic or the Dark Empire comics, and in this game, the concept of war droids, I guess, killing droids. I mean, we never really saw that in the original movies, droids that were violent. Like, well, I mean, we saw like a torture droid and probe droid and stuff like that, but not to this.
That is like a little bit of a difference for me though, too, because these are like droids you send out into the field to kill, not like having a violent purpose, I guess. Like
they also look humanoid too, like because the probe droid and the torture droid are very like amorphous or whatever. These are, I'm
still waiting for the spin-off series for that torture droid. That guy was cool.
Oh yeah, the ball?
Yeah.
Well, hey, there's lots of Star Wars content out there.
Okay.
They go in depth in the torture droid in this little short story I just read,
really?
actually. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
It's not like about that totally, but there's a lot of details about it.
I can just throw darts out in the Star Wars universe and hit whatever I want.
For the most part, yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Kyle Katarn's just trying to uncover the plans of, these dark troopers and stop production of them. There's this thing called like,
are you talking about the special metal that they find?
That's called frick metal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, frick metal.
The arc hammer. That's what I was talking about. That's just like this big weapon that sends out droids. And I was reading this little behind the scenes thing about the game, and one interesting thing, not too complicated, but they said they wanted to subvert it. They said, like, well, what if instead of an army taking on one big imperial weapon, it's one guy taking on like a imperial army,
Yeah.
sort like the weapon is the Dark Troopers. There's tons of them, and they're not like one big Death Star, but it's like one super strong rebel fighting against hundreds of guys. Whatever. I mean, it's like
That's fun for a game too.
yeah, it makes sense for a video game for sure. Yeah, pretty much you just go through this. Crix Madine shows up. Jabba
gets caught, gets rescued.
Boba Fett, as we mentioned, is there. Super underwhelming boss fight with Boba Fett. I know you didn't play that part, but I just did yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's the story. For little context, I just beat the game like 25 minutes ago. Ryan played the first few levels of it. What did you think about how it was to play? We like the vibe and the characters and stuff generally, right?
Yeah, it's fun in sort of an exploratory sense. At least foundationally, it does get difficult for me at least. The levels start to all blend together, and I get lost in them very easily. I know I had to use Jackson sort of as my navigator for a lot of this.
I had already played the levels though, and they took me the same amount of time the first time I played them.
But like I said, I really like, I like blasting people, stormtroopers, getting a look at them. I like watching the animations as like we called out, like I punched one of the stormtroopers. We got to see the sprite animation of them falling backwards. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of charm to that stuff.
The officers' hats flying off when they fall. Like, yeah, it's really good.
The burned corpses all over like the bar and whatnot. Which like I don't know what the choice of this is. I guess it's just from the visual perspective of keeping like the 2D pixel in the 3D space looking normal in front of you, but all those sprites follow you as you move. And so it makes some of the things very like creepy and uncomfortable, and I don't think that's inherently intentional, but I'm sure they were like, oh, whatever, that's cool too.
Yeah. And I guess for technicality's sake, we were playing the remastered new version of it, so I guess I'm not positive if it had the same effect in the original one, but I think so, because I was watching a video of the original one, and it did look like that. I kind of going off of what you were saying, I think the best strength of this whole game is the atmosphere of it, and it's the first Star Wars game where you're actually walking around in first person, or even in a 3D space at all, as a character. I mean, yeah, there's the X-Wing stuff that's like first person 3D, but like as just a person, boots on the ground, on planets, walking around. Like, this is the first time we've ever done that.
Yeah.
Which was probably enough, like, then, to make it be mind-blowingly awesome for Star Wars fans at the time when it came out, because there's nothing else. I mean...
Yeah. It's weird. I almost, like... I guess the aspects I also enjoy most of the game are not, like, the combat of it, but... Like, when we were in the sewer level, I was having a lot of fun, opening up the gates, trying to conserve my battery power for my headlight to, like, try and go find the levers and switches I needed to turn to, like, open the other gates I needed to set the hydro engine or whatever back to the level it was at. Like, all that exploring and, like, interacting with the universe stuff was really fun. I guess I was playing on easy mode, so maybe the combat would be more fun if it was... harder, but I don't think so, because I just think it's like an older game that doesn't have complicated combat, so the other aspects of it shine more for me.
Yes, I agree with that as well. I think that's like the main difference between this and something like Doom, is like Doom is very much like combat focused, like move, be constantly moving and shooting and tons of enemies on the screen at once and everything. And this does have sequences like that sometimes, but it is way more like puzzle-y and exploration focused,
Yeah.
which can become like maddening sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Because of the way that these levels are designed. I mean, and like, I guess I would absolutely cut them some slack. Like for the time of its release and everything, like the people who made this game had never designed 3D levels before, and also
that's true.
they hired like architect students to sort of make like the maps and things, and you can really feel that, I think, in the level design, that they feel way more like well, I guess, what am I trying to say? The thought behind the levels feels more focused on like, let's make this be like a building rather than a video game level, I guess. Which is cool in the immersion way, but can lead to pretty maddening like monotony in a gameplay way, where you can find yourself looking at the same like wall texture everywhere you go and being like, okay, well, this wireframe map is not super helpful. Did I, click on this panel? I click this button and I hear a noise, so I know it does something, but I can't actually see what it's doing. I feel like these are things that people would just have time for back in the day. Like, there's also like tricks in the level design too, where they put like impossible to get secrets in your view, like an extra life like in your view that is like, actually there's no way to get that, but they just hold it up there, and like if you attempt to get it, you might die because like you probably make like a dangerous jump to try and go for it. But it's like I even had a few secrets where I would look it up to be like, is this even possible? And people were like, no, it's a joke.
Oh, that's messed up, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that's really interesting though what you said about the architect students designing the map too, because I guess like when you think about the evolution of games and like map and level design, most modern games like really the levels are designed to like guide you to where you need to go. Like even if it's not super clear, like they'll subconsciously be telling you, like signaling like this is the direction and whatnot.
Right.
I guess that's probably why it did feel so easy to get lost and turned around on this map, because like there's none of that at all. It's not holding your hand or leading any type of breadcrumb to where you need to go. It's kind of just like, you've got your mission. Here's the little spot you can play around in. Figure it out.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, and I think like whether or not it's fun all the way, I do think that was intentional. And maybe because they just didn't know how to do the other thing at the time or whatever, but I think they wanted to capture that feel of like, okay, like drop down one dude in a hostile environment and he's got to kind of like figure it all out, with like limited resources, and work his way through places and stuff. And I mean, you get a great variety of places, to be honest, from like space stations and Star Destroyer and Jabba the Hutt's ship, to planets like Nar Shaddaa, the smuggler planet, other planets. It's fun. The last few levels actually are very straightforward in terms of where you need to go, and become difficult in a combat way, which I would say is not very fun as they go on. Because, for full disclosure, on the last level, I was playing it today, I got to the last screen of the game like 4 times and then would die or get a game over and have to start the whole level over. And it is like a 30-minute level, and it is also very straightforward and just kind of like annoying, and like tons of enemies, and like I don't know, like the combat is fun, like in the sense of, oh, it's fun to see myself like shooting a Star Wars gun and killing a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
But it's not super well designed combat.
There's no like nuance to it beyond that. And then the AI of the like sprites or the enemies is just not that great either.
No, they just come towards you and shoot. But I mean, you gotta love like, you're not authorized to be here and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
I don't, I like don't say that as like real critique of it because like this is so early on in like this type of gaming also. Yes. But it's like just worth noting why it like falls flat in some areas. Like that stuff is not like cultivated yet.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I don't mean it as a slight to the designers or anything like that, but that's just, my 2024 enjoyment of playing it, like with the whole, well, oh my God, this 30-year-old game.
No.
I mean, that's actually crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Super like not profound thing, but I just didn't think about how it was 30 years old, and now I'm gonna be even more forgiving to the people who made it.
Yeah, game is older than you, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you too. Don't say it like that.
I know.
What do you think about the Dark Troopers? Huh? That's kind of a big popular concept in Star Wars that's introduced here.
I think they're cool. They remind me of like they almost remind me of like they shouldn't be in the Star Wars universe. Like they could be one step further, and they're not Star Wars to me.
Yeah,
but I like it. They're like on the edge of it. Reminds me of Power Rangers too a little bit.
Yes, I see the Power Rangers vibe for sure. But I fully agree with you that they are an inch away from feeling out of universe.
Yeah,
and it's pretty interesting. You should say that because in the early concept designs. I want to shout out the guy who invented these. Justin Chin. Okay, so
good job, Justin.
Yeah, Justin Chin, one of the lead like designers and artists on this game. He's who created the concept of the Dark Troopers and at least like did the early sketches of them and everything. And apparently Lucasfilms and apparently George Lucas himself's early notes on them were that they looked a little too like anime style, a little too like proportions that don't actually make sense. And they were very much like, hey, like, that's kind of the whole thing about Star Wars is like, yes, it's fantastical and it's crazy and stuff, but we've stuck to this element of like mechanical realism so far.
Yeah.
Where everything is kind of believable, that we need to make this a little more realistic looking. So they kind of pared it down, like the bubbliness of it and everything. And I think so there's 3 phases of the Dark Troopers. You've got the first phase, which is like the skeletal thing with the blade and the shield.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's pretty cool. I actually have a miniature of him in the Star Wars miniatures game. He kind of looks like Terminator. Then you've got phase 2 and 3, which look pretty similar. Phase 3 is just kind of like a bigger version of phase 2. They're just the black like bulky 8-foot tall stormtroopers, pretty much.
Looking like Zeus from Real Steel.
Yeah, okay. There you go. One of our earliest conversations.
True.
I'm sorry I'm going on and on about this, but I think that these guys look pretty close to like the Warhammer 40K trooper
I see that too, yeah.
armor.
Mm-hmm.
But they're cool. They look badass in like the awesome like early 3D model cutscene we get at the beginning of the game of them like on the assembly line conveyor belt getting shot out into little escape hatches and being deployed onto this planet. And then you go to the planet and you see they absolutely like shelled it the fuck out and killed all the civilians.
Dude, they're
and stuff.
A threat.
They build to it too. And like the first time you encounter a phase 1 guy, like he pops out of nowhere and you're like, what the hell is this? And it's kind of freaky the first time you run into them. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah. Do we ever see them live action?
I can't answer that.
Why not?
I can't answer that.
All right. I bet we see them animated in the Clone Saga.
I really just can't say anything.
Okay.
I can't say anything.
That's what I was wondering.
I want to.
The whole time I was like, these like, I don't know. I was like, I could see them using this, or I could see them like dumping this, you know?
Yeah. But what's weird to me though is phase 1 and 2 are droids, and then phase 3, the final boss, is the Imperial officer in that armor.
So are all the phase 3s people in armor?
We only ever see one.
Oh.
So I don't know, but I guess so. Yeah. It's kind of strange.
It's a little different. Yeah.
Anyway, cool game.
Hard controls, I would say, is the other thing. Just like, at least for me, I think my big complaint as I was playing and getting frustrated was like I would slide. Like I said, it felt like I was just playing the game on ice the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
It is floaty along with, similarly to the way Doom feels, I would say. There is an item that you get eventually called the ice cleats that minimize that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
However, you need to not use the ice cleats for most of the game because it slows down your momentum on jumps, and there's a lot of not a lot, but a few tricky platforming things, which personally I really love that part of it because it reminds me of Minecraft parkour maps, which I used to play all the time in middle school.
Nice.
Which has a similar floatiness to the jumping.
Interesting.
So yeah, that was me. I kind of like that sort of momentum floaty platform jumping a little bit, and you have to press back to rein back the character after they land on something.
Part of me theoretically likes that because I like the realism of oh yeah, if I was jumping and I overshot a little bit, I would have to use my momentum backwards a little bit so I wouldn't stumble forward.
Dig your Scooby-Doo heels into the ground.
Yeah. Doing it on the analog stick, I was like, nah, not as fun as the thought is for me. But that's just me.
And I guess we played it on PlayStation 5, but it was a PC game originally, so I wonder if with the arrow keys that's a little less.
Yeah, maybe then. I don't know.
Whatever, a little more precise or something, I guess. I don't know.
So you gave this to me in its unpure form, basically.
Okay, well,
and a remaster too. When did this remaster happen?
This year.
Holy. So I consumed Star Wars content from this year.
I know.
I've been avoiding all this Star Wars content just for you to give me Star Wars content from this year.
We're experiencing things in the best way that we can, okay? I toggled off the settings to put remastered cutscenes on because I like the way the old ones look. They redid all the cutscenes and they don't...
Are they polygonal?
No, they're just less pixelated. They're drawn looking.
Oh, okay.
They just kind of look like that weird airbrushed over remastering that happened. Yeah.
I wonder if it was AI.
Yeah, freaking get James Cameron on the phone. The Boba Fett boss fight, extremely underwhelming, super easy. There's this, sort of tease throughout the game that you're eventually going to come face to face with Boba Fett, and you do eventually. A lot of the missions consist of you going somewhere to get a piece of information, or you going somewhere to blow up something and then returning to your ship. And on one of them, when you return to the ship, Boba Fett is there waiting for you, and he jetpacks around and shoots at you. You just run in a circle and shoot at him for truly 30 seconds, and then he's dead.
Hey, that's all Boba Fett fights. That's the Boba Fett experience, man.
You're not wrong. You're really not wrong.
Well, when will Boba Fett be cool again? Please.
We got some comics coming up that I've read that I do quite like the way he's portrayed in them.
Good. I'm begging them not to use this man again unless they have something interesting to do with it.
They will use him again a lot.
Great. I don't know why they think I'm gonna clap my hands like a seal every time Boba Fett appears.
Because that's what people did back in the day. That's how much love there was for Boba Fett, dude. Based on the fucking toy and the cartoon. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. But I guess I'm not fully up on the whole cultural tenor of how everybody felt about every Star Wars decision at the time. So maybe around this point now, we're 12 years removed from Return of the Jedi at this point. Maybe people are a little bit
Yeah.
Hey, can you chill with Boba Fett?
The hardcore fans, yeah.
Yeah. But casuals see him on the cover of a comic book and buy it.
Man, Wolverine effect, both Boba Fett.
It is literally
Ugh.
that. He is the Wolverine of Star Wars.
That's rough, dude.
Yeah. It is. It's weird.
Well,
but
he's
just such a cool design. Like,
yeah.
People love him so much.
Just a really strange thing people latched onto, I guess. I wish I could experience completely like attached to any knowledge I had of it, you know. But I will always have a little bit of influence of like knowing who Boba, because I've always known who Boba Fett is. Really,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I wonder how, like myself too, like how we would have felt about him if we, were experiencing this in real time.
Yeah.
As like hardcore fans or whatever, but yeah. Any other game thoughts?
Kyle's the best he is at what he does, but what he does isn't very nice.
He is kind of like that. I feel like he makes me think of Cable, like pretty hardcore.
Yeah,
just like a big shoulder pads gun type of 90s Marvel character. Like,
yeah, he's just like that, like male persona type, you know, like that. I could see him with a cigar in his mouth as well.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, we will see. I don't want to spoil too much. We will see Kyle again, and
hey, well, we've got that little teaser at the. We know he's
the
Force teaser. Yeah, Very cool getting Vader to be like, oh, the Force too.
God, Vader looks so fucking cool with his chain. Oh my god,
I love Vader.
Yeah. This is probably a little bit of a hot. Sexy Vader. Okay. A little bit of a hot take, but pretty good design on that helmet there.
For Vader?
Pretty cool looking helmet.
Hot
I know it's a bit of a hot take, but pretty cool helmet.
I agree, man.
Yeah. But yes, important little bit of the story. Really the main thing that it leaves us with. Oh, the Force is strong with this guy.
So there's another game after this.
Yes. So yeah.
Oh, is it a trilogy of games?
No, not really. It's kind of interesting what happens, so I guess it's not like it would be a spoiler to tell you. It would just be kind of behind the scenes logistics things, but it could be interesting to just not know how much are we going to see Kyle?
Okay.
1 more game? 10 more games?
All right.
I don't know.
He could appear anywhere, really, too. In any of the media we're consuming.
Yeah, you're right. All we know is that he is supposedly still alive as the events of Empire Strikes Back are starting, I guess. Or not even really, just at some point in between the first 2 movies. He's still alive.
Okay, yeah.
That's what we get at the end of this game.
I wonder what role he played in the battle for Endor. No, really? No.
Okay. Genuinely, I don't even remember or not, but I just know that there is like silly stuff like that where they.
God, okay. They're battle meditating for the Ewoks.
They retconned that he's the reason why the Ewoks could take out the Emperor's finest legion because he. Yeah. That is some shit they would do though.
Well, okay.
I
could just throw out predictions and it feels like I'm gonna hit something.
It's super possible that something like that I possibly don't even know about is true, but I don't know if he's involved or whatever.
Sure.
The only thing I'll say is he will get developed further into a slightly more nuanced character than just sort of like a attitude, cool guy.
Okay. All right. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Shall we move on to the comic book?
We shall. I tried to set up segues for you multiple times. I mentioned Wolverine. I did the Wolverine quote, comic connections for you to segue easily. Just saying.
Well, it's not like I was completely oblivious to that. I just had a few more thoughts to share about the game that I was thinking of.
Can you delete that last part of what I said then? Just
Well,
so I look better.
Yeah, you were being really mean.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Kind of like Wolverine.
yeah. So Wolverine is like a comic book character, and we also read some comics for today.
Yeah. There we go.
These are we're continuing along the Dark Horse comics journey. Still, Tom Veitch is really our solo guy. I mean, we had Kevin Anderson on those Tales of the Jedi with Tom Veitch, but he was still there for those too. So he's the guy. I
can't get a good read on him.
I know. I love the Tales of the Jedi stuff. I really think these are a pretty big miss.
Yeah, I didn't like the first iteration of this, and now I definitely don't like the sequel.
This is a lot worse. Yeah. I think. Yes. So we read Dark Empire 2 today, a direct sequel to the Dark Empire. It's a 6-issue miniseries. Yeah, I would say it continues along the plot of the first 6 books, but like only kind of, and like
most of the characters just meander around the whole time and do nothing.
Pretty much nothing happens in this.
Yeah.
Like
it's 6 issues of that. Oh, it was bad.
I know. The most interesting stuff is the little side things. There's a few cool concepts that get touched on and not really explored enough here, but the overall plot is so crazy boring. Like, it's truly like they set it up at the beginning like, oh, there's these 7 dark Jedi like fighting for power, and the Emperor is left behind. Like, these guys, the Emperor's dead, but these guys are here, and one of them is like the crazy leader of them. And okay, all 7 of them are in the book. 0 of them are interesting at all. And then the other thing is like the Empire just has a new super weapon.
Yeah, the galaxy gun. God.
That shoots literal giant bullets through hyperspace.
Yeah.
Which like
man, you know what's sad? This one also it looks worse than the first one too. Like everything is worse about this.
I know.
Sequel.
I still really like the colors. I still really like the art style in general, but I agree with you that
it's losing me.
The pages aren't as interesting.
Yeah.
There's a few really good shots in it, I think, but I was screenshotting a lot less than I was in the first 6 issues.
Yeah.
I'll say that for sure. We have some new characters, I guess. We've got this guy Cedrus, who is the leader of the Dark Jedi that I mentioned. And
what is he called? The Dark Executor?
Dark
Executor, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is confusing because also Darth Vader's Star Destroyer is called the Executor class Star Destroyer. Okay, this is like super nerdy thing to be confused about, but I was at the opening crawl, kept being like, okay, Cedrus is a guy, not the name of a ship. All right.
I like that you having so much Star Wars knowledge actually confused you.
Because they start using terms for things, and then in this at the end they go like, my dark troopers will take over, and it's like, those are stormtroopers imbued with dark force energy.
Yeah.
But we just had the dark troopers in the video game that were droids, so what's dark troopers?
Oh yeah, that's funny. Wow. This is why like you really got to be matching up your continuity when you're working on these other projects.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it's silly to care about that much, but I kind of do a little bit. But now, I have the same opposite complaint about current stuff. They're too strict. Nobody's allowed to take risks because it all has to fall under this and this. Let's... I'm going to go through my notes here a little bit.
Dude, also, how many more times are we going to see, like... we based like, oh no, there's a new super weapon they need to take out like Death Star iterations.
I mean, it's like, crazy how many times we've already seen it.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to happen.
Yes. At
what point are they like, that well's run dry? We can figure out new plots now.
Well, it's crazy. Like that, you would think so.
Does the prequels though like sort of re-energize that in a different way, and people are like, oh, we can do different things? Or I mean, I don't know. Maybe the prequels also like.
Well, I don't.
sorry to be like asking. So.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not. I'm certainly not like aggravated that you're asking about it. I will say this is all I'll say about it, just for the sake of not revealing too many details. The prequels are not about a super weapon.
Okay.
I want to say quickly my positives about this book.
Okay.
The first issue,
and I'll play devil's advocate to them.
Okay. Wow, really embodying the devilish persona. I like it.
Thank you.
These are little things too, because overall, I think this is kind of bad.
I was gonna say because I also try to look for the positive of things like this, but I only have a couple things.
Mm-hmm. I really like, and they don't even explore these things enough, but I really like the concept that they introduce of the shadow droids in the first issue, and they're only in the first issue, but they're these ships controlled by the brains of dead Imperial fighter aces, and then they, in the text box make reference to like, oh yeah, their brains are like suspended in fluid thousands of light years away. Like, well, I'm like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah. That is a cool concept. It'd be nice to know more about that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's truly the extent of it right there. But it's pretty interesting. And I think, that's one of Tom Veitch's strengths is like these little side concepts that make it feel like we were talking about in the Tales of the Jedi stuff, like these little details that other people could potentially run with if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of his biggest strengths as a writer, but
he is very much like a detailed man,
Yeah. But I wish in this one, since with the other ones, it's forgivable because the main plot is very interesting and going at a fast pace, and these little details, you don't have time to get into them. And this one, the main plot is so boring and nothing that like I would love some focus on these little side details or some characterization moments or things.
Yeah, I guess it is that he just kind of struggles when the narrative is like sort of more straightforward story like this.
Yeah, because it's so like just not. Let me see. Do I even have any other positives here?
I can say one I liked if your supplies run low.
I like the concept of Ossus, the Jedi planet that they go to, and the people that live there and their Force magic. They have like a sort of
kind of the best part of the story.
Yeah, when they go and get the brother and sister from there and stuff. Yeah, I would agree that's the best part. And the worst part is looking for Vima on Nar Shaddaa. But we'll get to that in a bit, I guess. Yeah, go for it. That's truly the only positives I have.
Yeah.
At least written down.
I was just going to say, I like, because this was a tough read for me. I just really was not enjoying it at all. Couldn't, like, sink my teeth into it at all. I read this over the course of, like, 2 weeks. Like, that's bad for me for a comic.
Yeah,
like, that's
only 6 issues. Like, that's rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't blame you at all.
But I did really like, again, like, some of those small details that they throw in there just to make little connections of things. Like, we get to learn about Nomi Sunrider's ancestor, like being the older woman who had given the lightsaber to Leia previously, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is like a fun little connection. I like those like things, the ripple effect of like building this long Star Wars history. Like all of that is very cool to me, especially like not having the full connection of like the Jedis and how they've fallen explicitly yet. So it's like nice to see, and that character even like the mention in the narration of her like still having fear twangs about Darth Vader also was like really cool, just fleshing out like small things. It's kind of silly she's in it again, but I appreciated like that aspect of it at least.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's a cool little thing about the other guy who's like a pretty nothing of a character. His name is... I'm sorry.
That's his name?
Yeah.
First name?
His name is Empatogeos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That guy who's like
pressure cooker guy.
Yeah, floating around in the little pressure cooker.
It's a pressure cooker, dude. Yeah.
Kind of a cool design. He's got a built-in lightsaber to his arm and stuff. Like, but
he kind of looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh card I would get in like the early 2000s. You know, like
it's a very weird thing that they put in there, and they call him like a half man and stuff. And it's like, what is this for?
Strange.
But I think it's cool when they go to his planet that he's on, and he goes like, oh my god, like Darth Vader like destroyed my body and my ship when he was like going around killing all the Jedi, and I crashed here and now I just live here. Man, Darth Vader must have probably gained a lot of power by now, huh? And they're like, oh my god, like you have no idea what's been going on. Like that's
I literally screenshotted that moment.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's like a nice little shot maybe in the first issue of like R2-D2 bumping into Chewbacca, and then like Chewbacca looking down at him and going like, oh. It's like, that's such a small thing, but like I do really like moments like that, and I think they could easily not be there. And I guess I feel like mentioning that is like grasping at straws for good things about it. However, I will say that's another thing for me personally that stayed strong was the overall like atmosphere from the colors and the art. Like, I still enjoy it. I agree it's not as strong as the first one, but I still like the feeling of the book through the art.
Unfortunately, I disagree. I don't know what happened this time. It just like maybe because the story's not doing it for me. I'm starting to like sour on the project like entirely. I don't know what that says about how I consume my media, but like I was really starting to be like, I feel like I'm just in like an ugly world now with like because it's very. I don't think the art is bad, but it's stylized in a way that I don't really like, and I think it is a little uncomfortable. And I think it's meant to be a little uncomfortable in its stylization.
Yeah,
and just so. Like with the story not working for me though, and the color aspect like feeling dreary and everything, it just became like a miserable experience reading it, which sounds like hyperbole. It's not like I'm still just reading a comic, so I'm fine, but you know, it's like it's not fun.
I do know what you mean. I feel like if I would, it can get so bland sometimes where you get like lulled into like, can I see like a bright color, please?
Yeah, they use like 3 colors also almost. It's like it's kind of interesting, but also I don't know, like it's tiring for my eyes too, I guess. I don't know.
I personally still really like the color palette, but I really do see what you're saying, and I think like the times I was trying to read this late at night, I'll be like, I gotta read this in the morning. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I said, I think I found it cool the first time we were talking about it.
Yeah. I think you were positive on the art the first time.
I think I was like, this is pretty unique. I really like it. But yeah, I guess something just changed this time, or not enough heart was put into it. There's not enough love in this project, you know?
I mean, I fully agree. It feels very like, well, this had to be 6 issues, so I guess I'll fill the pages with a story of people running around in circles and nothing happening, and a bunch of fake outs and stuff. I mean, I guess we'll get into the main like problems of this beyond just it kind of overall being sort of uninteresting and monotonous. We hit on it before, but we might as well pull off that Boba Fett Band-Aid. This guy fucking sucks in this thing. It's awful. They literally turned him into Team Rocket from Pokemon. I know you're not a big Pokemon watcher.
But I also know that through the cultural zeitgeist. Yeah, so I get it.
But literally, he 4 separate times on this, he flies away. He spirals away off screen into a little blink, and then it's like, well, we see him still moving around over there, so we know he's not dead. Like, they literally say that out loud.
I think also one of the lines is like, oh, we hear him groaning, so he's okay.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah. When they're on the planet and Chewbacca like smacks his jetpack and gets his helmet.
Yes, I was like, this is so embarrassing. This is like so demeaning to what Boba Fett could have been.
I know, he's supposed to be his introduction in this is cool, I will say. He fucking kills like 20 dudes.
Sure, yeah.
And then after that, it's all trash.
All the goodwill is immediately lost, though, especially because one of the interactions in the future, even the narration does him dirty, because it's literally like, I think it's Cedrus, that guy? Is that his name?
Yeah, the main,
Yeah, it's like, Boba Fett is being bullied by these two. It says that in the narration, and it's like, yeah, Boba Fett is being bullied by these two. This is sad to see. And then also Boba Fett's like, because they're like, Boba Fett, I know you've been paid in the past, but you're going to work for free. Yeah. And Boba Fett's like, no, actually, I'm raising my prices. And it's also like, wait, what? Boba Fett, dude, you fucking suck. Why are you raising your prices, first of all?
You have not once delivered. You did in the movies, but in a long time.
And he literally says in this comic, like, I always deliver something to that.
Yeah, you're right.
It's insane, dude. I'm like, You're
all
not
talk, bro.
Living the experiences that we've seen you live, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
I mean, it almost feels like he didn't actually come back to life, and this is just like a random dude who found his armor and put it on. Oh. And if that would... I'm not spoiling anything.
Holy... Wow.
But wouldn't that even be like a better version of it?
Dude, I love that. Mad Men meets Star Wars in this new take on Boba Fett.
Mad Men?
Yeah, because you know how... Have you seen Mad Men?
No.
Oh, you don't know the plot of Mad Men?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen like 3 episodes randomly. I know like some of the characters, but no, I don't know the plot at all.
Okay, big spoiler. Never mind.
Someone pretends to be someone who died. Ooh. Okay, that's okay. I mean, I'll probably watch it eventually.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it genuinely feels like, though, because he's such a joke in this.
Yeah,
it's so
frustrating.
Sad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they still present him like he's cool, like through the words on the page and the cover art, and
the cover art was great too.
Yeah,
so cool.
Yes, the covers are just as good as they were the first time, I think.
But I do really love that Boba Fett one, especially.
Yes, with him and Chewbacca, that one's cool. Mm-hmm. And that issue is called The Duel on Nar Shaddaa, and I'm like, sweet, like there's not too much story going on here, so you have space for like a whole issue to be a cool, like almost wordless. What if it was like a whole issue from Chewbacca's perspective? They land on Nar Shaddaa. Leia and Han go off to go find like Vima, and then like Chewbacca gets sent in to go get his Dianoga pie and crate milk.
Yeah.
And then he gets like separated from them because he sees Boba Fett in the bar or something. And then they have like a full issue like cat and mouse fight.
Yeah.
And that ends with like a big brawl and whatever, and ends with Chewbacca like saving Han and Leia from Boba Fett getting to them. Like there's so little story in this that you really could do something like that.
That would have been wonderful. And also that reminds me of like one of my an X-Men issue that I really, really love. And maybe you've read it. Have you read the issue where it's just Wolverine and Sabretooth in the mansion, and it's sort of like that? They're just playing cat and mouse.
Yeah, dude. That's like right before Onslaught.
It's right before Age of Apocalypse.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, because
they're like killing each other, and then it goes away to Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, Wolverine is literally about to like lobotomize him right before. Because Sabretooth's like, you better do it. If you don't do it, I'm going to kill Kitty Pryde. I'm going to kill everyone you love. I'm going to kill Scott Summers.
Yeah.
It's a really awesome moment. So I love like, and I can think of a few, like Invincible has an issue like that too later on, where they do something like that. That's very, very, really, really fun and very like powerful. And it lets like you show off what you can do with comic books a little bit in a fun, creative way. It would have been great if they did that here. It's almost sad that they didn't do that now.
Yeah, I feel like it's a great opportunity for that. And that's almost what they're trying to sell you with the cover and the name of the issue. And like maybe not, it's trying to jump between a lot of different characters and plot threads, but they're all boring. Like,
I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the like space stuff with those 7 guys, I was like, I'm gonna skim this part a little bit. Like,
absolutely, bro. Another insane thing is that Palpatine is just back again. Like, there's a part where the main bad guy Cedrus goes to, and we say he's the main bad guy, but he just gets like killed in the 4th issue, and then like, never does anything.
They're all pretty inefficient at what they like seek out to do.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't the tree Jedi kills him?
Yeah, and the one that says "I am Groot."
Yeah, exactly.
What is his? I literally took a.
His name is Ood.
Yeah. I saw this panel first where the tree basically grabs the dude and is just like groaning, and I was like thinking in my head, I was like, oh, this is funny. This is like, I'm like, oh, the part in Star Wars where like the "I am Groot" Jedi came, and then he literally says "I am Ood" on the next page.
Yeah.
Just thought it's funny. Obviously,
But that was kind of before, like, I mean, Groot existed. Not technically.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. There's no real connection, but it was just making
that is funny.
Me laugh.
Yeah.
But I do really like variations on Jedis, like outside of like human looking Jedis.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Thawne. It seems to be something that he's pretty interested in, is like very weird looking aliens being Jedi, which is cool. And that was like something really. So there's another character in this who's like a total nothing character in this, but I know he's from the Kevin J. Anderson novels that I'm reading right now. I haven't met him yet because I'm only on the first book, but Cam Solusar.
Yeah. Cool name.
Yeah, truly the most boring guy you could ever imagine in these comics. He has zero personality at all, but we do know that he was like a dark side guy, and Luke turned him back to the light side. There's a part where he and Luke go to Ossus, this old Jedi planet, to try and look at like artifacts. And we mentioned this before, but they run into this brother and sister, and they're tied up to the tree, and we don't know that it's the Jedi yet, but it is that tree. And Luke is immediately like, I'm going to cut them down from the tree. And Cam, pretty wisely goes, hey, this is a brand new place we've never been to before. We're actually fully unaware of cultural taboos and stuff. Maybe you don't want to, like, they might actually not need help. Like, you don't really know what's going on here. And he's like, Jedi knowledge surpasses all cultural. Like, he literally says something like that. Like, Jedi teachings is more important than like other cultures.
Dude, it's a strange moment because I was like, wow, I feel like the Luke, at least that I've seen up to this point, would have been making the argument that Cam was making.
Yeah, exactly.
And but it did like ring a little bit of the bell, which they do a little bit of in here too later on, of like Luke sort of taking on more of an Obi-Wan role, where Obi-Wan was not necessarily like I've mentioned before, he's like pragmatically utilitarianist for like certain things, and it comes across as a little manipulative at sometimes.
I know. Yeah, and I totally agree with you. Like, we've seen that with Thawne, we've seen that with Yoda and Obi-Wan, so it is consistent from the movies that, an older, more position of power Jedi behaves in that way. And I know I've said this before, and it's a little dangerous territory being like, but that's not my Luke.
Yeah.
But that is how I feel, where Luke is kind of supposed to be the best example of those guys. He's supposed to make a new Jedi Order where he's learned from, hey, that old Jedi Order failed and they all died. Like, yes, my masters were very wise and powerful with the Force, but they did things wrong. Obi-Wan let Anakin turn into Darth Vader, Yoda hid himself in solitude and didn't help with the Empire for all these things. So he's, in the Thrawn trilogy, very actively in his POV chapters, being like, I want to learn from their mistakes and be a better, like, more compassionate person than that. And then this feels like it wants to have its cake and eat it too, because then he out of nowhere falls in love with this girl Jem, and they start making out, and then she dies at the end, and it's like, oh no, my girlfriend died. And it's like, what the hell? Who's this person?
Yeah, it's all very
sorry, I'm getting a little fired up.
No, you're fine. And I will say I care a little less about being the person that's like, that's not my Luke. Because yeah, to some degree, I do think it's like, that's not my Luke, because he does lose a lot of like the empathy and kindness that to me is like why I like Luke at all. Like
Yeah.
Luke, not that this sounds rude to Luke. He's not a nothing character without it, but like that is the driving motivator for me to root for Luke as a character,
Yeah.
and why I like him a lot.
And I mean, I think beyond a movie, when you don't have an acting performance to add nuance to a character, beyond what's on the page, you need that, like, some sort of character trait that is, people contain multitudes and can be inconsistent, but in a story like this, they're not trying to, like, get into, like, nuanced characters or anything, so at least give them something.
Yeah, and I think I said it when we first discussed this is called Dark Empire, right?
Yeah.
Dark Empire. I also like, even Luke being tempted by the dark side in the way that they did it, I'm like not entirely on board with. Just like doesn't seem in character to me as, okay, hey, critique me for saying it, but that's how I feel.
I mean, there may be some people that would critique you, but I don't think a lot. I think, I don't know what everybody feels. I'm sure people feel differently about this, but I think kind of the general fan consensus is that they don't like the way Luke is behaving in these comics.
Okay. Yeah, do people like these comics?
I think people liked the first one about half and half.
Okay.
People thought the art was really cool, and they thought that some of the concepts were really cool and all that. And then I think that this one was significantly less critically well received and by fans well received, which led to the third one only being 2 issues instead of, it was originally also going to be 6.
Okay, wow.
That's a little bit of speculation on my part, but I think I've seen that written before.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, I guess I'm being a hater towards them a little bit, and I don't mean to. I'm just sort of surprised that to me, they're both kind of bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not to call out anyone who enjoys them. I just, like, I guess maybe they're not bad, but just not, like, the proper direction of Star Wars that I'd like things to go with, like, stories moving our main characters forward.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And, they just don't... you just know, like, when you're using the main characters this much, and with the examples we're talking about with Boba Fett, like, this is when you can really feel the editorial. I mean, I'm inferring, but that's what it feels like to me reading it, is like, oh, well, none of these people are really allowed to, like, do anything. Like, Boba Fett can't die.
You mean Boba Fett didn't really kill Chewbacca when he shot him, and he was like, just killed the Wookiee?
Yeah. Like, yeah, and then when they blow up the Pinnacle base, and they're like, all the rebel leaders are dead. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, not for 1 second am I buying that. And then, of course, it ends with like, Mon Mothma and Admiral Akbar, you're still alive.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way. They're like, yeah, we escaped along with every other named character. So, yeah, a bunch of, like, faceless nobodies that we've never met before died, but everybody that was ever a character is still alive. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Which, like, I'm not saying that characters dying is the only way to have good drama, but when you're putting people in quote-unquote life and death situation, I mean, it's a problem that, like, a lot of franchises have with characters that aren't allowed to die, that are action. I mean, it sounds silly, like, thinking about someone dying as, like, the end-all be-all of drama, but that's the thing about something that is so action-based, like a Marvel movie or Star Wars or something, is like, they're in peril, they're in danger, they're in life and death situations, and when I know that they're not going to die, I only have so much goodwill for that suspension of disbelief. Like, the content better be really good for me to buy into the danger, like, I feel like I'm rambling a lot this episode. These are things that I think about a lot.
So. No, it's fair. And it is just like an issue of like stakes, because I think it's like easy to be like, yeah, like there is like this like the galaxy gun's gonna shoot them all, and it's gonna be like a huge death toll, and it's gonna be crazy. And it's like, yeah, okay, but like you said, we know like none of those main characters are really gonna suffer at the hands of this. So like, what are the actual stakes of this? Like, what like ideological mission are we gonna lose, or like
Yes.
what like footing are we gonna lose in like the government stability that we've been building towards, or things like that, or like even like personal losses that don't deal with death. You know, like characters can go through terrible things, and then that can like affect how they interact with other characters and like affect relationships in interesting ways. But they don't really want to do any of that in this. So it's like disappointing.
Absolutely. And I mean, a great example of that is the end of Empire Strikes Back. Nobody died.
Yeah.
But that was an awesome cliffhanger with tons of emotional drama for all of the main characters.
Yeah.
Like Luke, Leia, and Han are all left at crazy interesting places at the end of that movie. And nobody died. Like, so yeah, there's a great example right there. You know that they're the heroes. They're not. There's going to be a third movie. They're not going to kill the main characters here. We know that going into the movie, but
the stakes were raised still, like intensely at the end.
Yeah,
you were like, oh my goodness, things aren't going the way we thought things were going to go for them.
Exactly, and they make you care about what's going on too. And I think it's a problem that we'll run into a lot when external media is dealing with the main characters. And you know, I guess like one of the solutions that like Marvel does a lot too is like, well, introduce new characters, and those can be the people that we actually worry about whether or not they're going to live or die. Make me care about them, because I guess in like the Thrawn trilogy, you know, like Mara Jade or something, like she could have died at the end of that. And I mean, I guess spoilers for you. She's alive at the end.
I also don't know, but like the one character who I was genuinely worried for the first book, and because I didn't know if he was in anything else. I think I've seen like artwork of him on a card now or something. But Talon Card. I was like, this guy's in a pretty sticky situation, caught between two organizations here. I don't know if he's going to make it out of this series alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I don't know if he does or not, but
I think he does.
Yeah, okay. Because I think I have also seen like comic artwork of him too. Just
could have been from the adaptation.
True.
So.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I guess all that to say, like, it feels very shackled, and it feels like he did not come up with good creative ways to still utilize the main characters while being restrained. And I understand that can be a difficult and frustrating thing, but that's kind of your job.
Yeah,
as the writer.
I guess I will say as another like small positive call. I do like the moments we get of Luke where we get to see that he's much more seasoned now with his Jedi powers. Like that's always nice to see. The one that I sort of screenshotted here just because I thought it was funny is what is his Jedi Academy's friend name again? Cam
Solusar.
Cam Solusar, yeah. Cool name. I gotta remember it. It's when they're like fighting Cedrus and Goyer or whatever, and they start to do like the trick where it's like, oh, I can feel them sort of their grasp around my neck. He's like, my throat, like an invisible hand. I can feel the cartilage snapping. And then Luke's just sort of casual, like, oh, that's an old Sith trick. You saw that in the holocron here. I know how to block it. Like, oh, okay. Wow.
I mean, that is badass, but also I hate that he's just like, oh yeah, I just was watching my holocron video and I learned a new power.
Well, yeah, I guess I kind of figured Luke could have done that previously, though. Also,
yeah, like maybe he could just have like figured out how to do that by himself. Like,
I feel like. Well, maybe it was just my headcanon. I was like, Luke has done that before. He's been able to, like,
negate... To block the choke?
Yeah, negate that before. Maybe not.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I thought maybe someone in one of the movies tried. Or, like,
a little moment, yeah.
I don't know, man.
I not that I can think of, but it's not impossible that that doesn't happen. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so I have mixed feelings about that because I agree. I think it's very cool that we see him being stronger with the Force and more of like a crazy Force user that can.
You don't like the source of it though.
Yeah. I just think that I think that the concept of the holocrons is pretty annoying, but whatever.
Hey.
Oh yeah. Speaking of being pragmatic and soulless, how about Han and Leia murdering millions of people by crashing a Star Destroyer into the city when they're escaping?
I mean, for the Jedi way,
That's
everything above. Yeah,
like Leia literally says lines like that, where she's like, "I don't care."
they've bought into their own dogma, dude.
It's so weird.
Yeah, but I also feel like, especially so reading like Han and Leia in this, not that they're, it's not even so much that like that's not my Han or Leia. It's just like not real characters. They're just like things moving from spot to spot, like not really saying anything. Even I don't know. I really got nothing from it. I just found it so boring. This read, like that's my big issue with it. Just like eyes glazing over.
It is boring.
Cool little moments here and there, but like
I mean the least boring things were the things I was getting frustrated about, where I was like, why would you do that?
Yeah, Boba Fett.
Yeah, Boba Fett, the Emperor coming back. Why did they mention that Jem was 23 when they introduced her? That was really weird.
I thought that the romance with Luke in that, it was weird anyway.
When Ood dies, they find a chasm full of lightsabers underneath him. That was really weird. So yeah, like Leia gives birth to Anakin Solo here.
Yeah. She's a baby making machine in this post
I know.
Universe.
It's like
what's going on?
I think it's okay in the Thrawn books because she's very much a main character and we get a lot of internal stuff, and she is constantly being like, actually, I know I'm pregnant and maybe I should like be safe, but I'm gonna go do this thing. Is like, so it's not really annoying there, and it makes sense that like they're married and they want to have kids, like whatever. But in all the other stuff, all this stuff, she is so like, just like, I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. And
which is also weird though, because like Nomi's Sunrider has a kid, and I feel like that's done well.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
It's never like
she doesn't feel like coldly absent from her kid, but also isn't only about her kid. Or whatever.
It was never posited also like you need to make the choice of your kid or to be a Jedi. It was kind of like, oh, the Jedi community will like watch your child and we'll raise your child too as like a Jedi. And like that's just part of it. Like you're part of the family now, and you guys can just operate independently here and like do your Jedi shit. It's like, oh, that's cool and awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool, and that's kind of what I would imagine the Jedi to have, like that sort of commune vibe lifestyle, where like, oh, like children are born into the community, and we sort of collectively raise them. There's a lot of mentors here, and it's a good resource where if you have to go off and do a mission, like your kid will be safe here and you don't have to worry about it. And like they have Jason and Jaina on New Alderaan here, and in the last couple issues they go and visit them, and it's so bizarre. Like they mention points of, oh, they've only seen them like 2 times since they were born, like Han and Leia. And in these Jedi Academy trilogy, Kevin J. Anderson books I'm reading, they also are talking about this stuff where Jason and Jaina don't really know Han and Leia well because they've had to like keep them safe on this isolated planet.
Yeah.
Because they're like these Force-sensitive children that are very highly sought after by like dark side people, whatever. They do a really cool thing in that book where when they do meet Leia again, they don't like her very much, and they are really into Winter, and Winter is like their mom pretty much, and they're like, whoa, well, Winter lets us do this, and Leia's like, no, I'm your mom, and then they're like, you're mean, we hate you, and like, it's certainly more interesting than what they're doing here. I mean, it's something I've seen before in movies and stuff, but like,
sure,
it's something at least.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna go that direction, I was gonna say, make a choice. Yeah, so that's at least like a distinct path and story to tell with it,
and
you can
it's
explore
one that
fun stuff for that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
cut you off.
That's it. You can just explore different and fun things through that too. It doesn't have to be the be all end all for it.
Yeah, and then you can show them like rebuilding their relationship and Leia like going through a character thing of, well, I need to be better about balancing my time, and Han too. I mean, he's don't let him off the hook for being an absent father or anything.
No, they should become a Fantastic Four type family and just go do little adventures out in the galaxy and whatnot. It's actually perfectly suited for it.
I fully agree with you, and I think we'll get some stuff like that.
Okay.
But I think it's really weird that on this they make a point of saying like, oh, they've only seen them 2 times, and then they're both just so like, yay, mom, dad, and then they're playing and like,
not who are you?
Yeah. I don't know. It just felt like whatever the most like non-interesting choice to be made is what was going to happen here.
Yeah, I'll say I'm going to be super disappointed if like we continuously get these Leia plot lines moving forward of her just like if we solely focus on like maternal things with her or her just having more children, that would be really disappointing considering like the end of the original trilogy puts her in a really interesting position, and I'm like I was really excited to see like where things would go with her, and I really liked where things were going with her in the Thrawn trilogy. So I don't know, she's got a lot of potential as a character. I really, really like Leia. I just want more done with her. It's like, it's all there, guys. Please, just someone. I'm hoping at some point someone really, like, gets it.
Yeah, I really agree with you, and I think you might have to go to novels to, at least in this time period of it, to get what you want out of at least just more like interior, more perspective from Leia. Like the Truce at Baccarat book that I read, maybe it's because it's actually the first thing we've seen that is written by a woman, but Leia's characterization was very strong in that. She was, it was pretty equal between like Luke, Han, and Leia being main characters in that. But yeah, it was like her right after Return of the Jedi, her dealing with, wow, Luke has just dumped like massive truth bombs on me about like Darth Vader being my dad. And like, maybe I talked about this on the podcast before, but the actual ghost of Anakin like shows up to Leia and she's like, get away from me. And he's like, but didn't Luke tell you? Like, I told him to tell you that I am good now. And she's like, I don't care. You grabbed me while Tarkin exploded my planet. You tortured me. Like, you killed a bunch of my friends. All this, like,
so good. Oh, you're making me want to read that so badly.
It's a good book. It's a good book.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I guess the point of bringing that up is these comics just really make you yearn for some kind of nuggets of interesting character stuff, and they're just not there.
Does she forgive Vader though? Tell me that.
Not in this book. I mean, it's kind of a short book.
Oh, okay. He just makes me sad. I want him not to be fractured with his family.
I understand. I mean,
but I get Leia's perspective.
But isn't that so nice at the end of Return of the Jedi when they look over and see the 3 ghosts sitting there, and you're like, hey, he's made peace with Yoda and Obi-Wan, probably guys that have a very complicated emotional history with each other, but they're all sitting happy together at peace in the Force.
That is very sweet.
It's a beautiful thing.
I wonder who else is going to get added to that, their little Force parties in the future.
Didn't Ood have something funny where he's like, Luke was like, oh, I read one of your teachings in the Holocron, and he's like, yeah, I was pretty naive when I wrote that, though. I was only 1,000 years old.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a stupid joke.
Fun stuff.
There's also a whole lot of focus put on these Viper droids that this guy makes. These little, like, beetle-looking things that Lando hides inside to, like, take Biss.
Yeah.
And this whole concept right at the beginning where, like, Lando, Mon Mothma, Han, Leia, everybody is like, let's attack the Imperial capital right now with these droids. And Luke is like,
no,
it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, sorry, Luke, but we're going to do it.
They're so terrible. They're like, hey, you do what you got to do as a Jedi. We'll do what we've got to do, okay? And that's how it is. And it's like, what? You guys should be working together, first of all. Like,
yeah, like, don't like this. He kind of like blew up the Death Star and stuff. Yeah. Like,
they're like, hey, you go rebuild your Jedi stuff. Okay?
Yeah.
You guys are super dismissive of Luke Skywalker.
But hey, in the last miniseries, Luke caused a ton of rebel soldiers to like get killed and stuff because he just didn't care and was doing his world devastator plan. Which would have also been interesting if they had even mentioned that in this one of like maybe Lando hates Luke now or something because a bunch of the men that Lando led into battle got killed because Luke,
because that's a relationship consequence and that would sort of affect their dynamic in an interesting way.
Yeah, exactly. Like zero things like that happened in this.
Which to be like to give some level of fairness, maybe there's like mandates that they're like, hey, you also cannot fracture character relationships, but also
you can rebuild it by the end of it.
You can put the toys back in the box.
I don't think they're too precious about it where they wouldn't let you like make people be mad at each other and then at the very least like kiss and make up by the end of it. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to be super charitable too.
Hey,
because
I don't blame you. I want to be too because I do think he's a talented writer overall.
For sure.
I just think these are not his best work.
Yeah. I will be excited to hop back to Nomi Sunrider and the gang though.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh man, those guys are cool.
Where's my Twi'lek at?
Yeah. Tot Donita.
Yes, Tot Donita. That's right.
Yeah, the Emperor is so fucking stupid in this too. They're literally going like, hey, Luke is amassing a new army of Jedi, and he's like, I don't care. The galaxy gun will take care of everything. And it's like, bro, that you've literally learned this lesson 4 times now already that like you shouldn't put all the faith in the technology and the Force is more powerful than the technology. Like, how many times do you as an individual character have to learn that, let alone us as the reader see that cycle play out?
I don't know, man. I think you need to like take a step back and sort of look at it from the existential sort of Sisyphean aspect of it. He continues to roll that boulder up the hill.
Yeah, as soon as I saw your facial expression, I was like, that's what he's about to say.
Okay, all right.
No, I'm just kidding. But as soon as you started talking, I was like, yeah, right. Like, maybe that's the whole point. Is he never learned.
No.
But it's annoying as a reader to see this.
Yeah.
Especially if there's no like twist on it or anything.
I also don't think that's the point. I think it's just sort of them. I don't know if it's like trying to lazily ring a bell of the past and not realizing we can move forward beyond that. But
that's what it seems like. Yeah. It seems just like a lack of creative ideas.
Yeah.
And
I like when he was like, I want to be in your bed. I want to take your babies and like put my energy into him. That's cool.
Yeah.
And scary.
I mean, and there's like a couple nice images of like the Jedi's like stancing up with lightsabers and stuff. Like,
oh yeah.
All right, that still gives a little tingle in my brain
for sure. There's like I said, there's cool moments in here. It's just not enough for like me to keep the momentum rolling of being interested in reading it.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. Any closing thoughts?
No.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening. We will real quick talk about what we are getting into next time. Next time is a full comic issue. We've got 3 Jabba the Hutt one-off comic books. Little one-issue, one-shot stories about Jabba the Hutt.
I'm excited, honestly. I think they'll be fun.
I've read them before, and It was probably like 10 years ago that I read them, and I remember enjoying them, but I don't remember what happened. So I'm excited to check them out again. Then we've got a mini series, River of Chaos. Mm-hmm. All I really remember about this off the top of my head is that I believe it takes place in between the first two movies. Mm-hmm. And then we've got the start of really the first ongoing in the Dark Horse lineup. It's been all miniseries so far. The X-Wing Rogue Squadron comic books, following the exploits of Wedge Antilles and the gang.
Okay, maybe I'll start to like him a little bit more. Get to know him better.
I've read a few of these and I like them. Okay, and they are pretty well liked comic books.
Okay.
I'm excited to check them out again because I really, it's been probably 8 or 9 years, but I'm excited to read them. But yeah, that's kind of, I didn't really think about that, but the first ongoing series.
Oh, very fun. Okay.
That Dark Horse does.
Do you know how long it lasts?
I think it goes to at least like 30 issues.
Hey, pretty successful by standards of the time, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And for an indie thing, and well, I guess it's Star Wars,
but indie thing?
An indie comic publisher.
Star Wars? Biggest movie of the galaxy?
Yeah. You're right. It's obviously gonna sell. I can't believe
the stuff this guy says sometimes.
Whew. All right. I'm excited to check them out. That's next time.
And this has been our Sweet 16.
Yes, the follow-up to our Quinceañera episode, the prelude to our She Was Just 17 and You Know What I Mean episode.
Okay, yeah.
17 again.
Mm-hmm. More.
17,
One more.
Can you think?
No, I don't have one.
17 isn't the magazine.
Is it a magazine?
Isn't that like one of those teen girl magazines like Tiger Pop or what? 17?
You know what? You probably know more than I because you named 2 girl magazines there.
Hey, well,
I couldn't name one. That's just how masculine I am.
I was gonna say I'm labeling them as girl magazines, but boys can read them too. Okay. And maybe when you were younger, maybe you checked one out. No, 17, the magazine. I'm actually positive that is the name of the magazine.
Okay.
I'm actually fucking positive.
Lock it in.
That's my third thing.
Okay.
So that's what the next episode will be, is our 17, the magazine episode.
And we're going to smoke cigarettes the episode after that.
Yeah. And vote.
Yeah. Should we endorse?
Yeah. I think we talked about this before.
Okay.
All right. You ready for me to end it? All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I got to turn this off at some point, man. Come on.